And we are recording the second episode with Miss Judith Very Baker on Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 at 3:17 p.m. Eastern Time for episode 1047, I think. Not important. Miss Baker, what do you have? What are you
Oh,
showing me? What's
first of
the
all, how are you?
I'm doing better, still fighting this cold, but sleeping and drinking water and sitting in a sauna has been helping kind of clear out my sinuses. So it's loosening. It's getting better day by day. It's not as
Okay,
bad as it was.
sinuses. So if you get a handheld massager and vibrate under your eyes
Mm-hmm.
and behind your ears, up where the mastoid process is,
Mm-hmm.
it'll clear out a lot of that. It'll start draining it because some of it is kind of it's full of mucus and it won't drain, but
Yeah.
that vibrates it and helps liquefy it.
I've been sitting in this little tiny sauna and just been dumping water on the rocks every,
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes until it turns into a steam room. And
Well,
that
you're
has been a
steaming. You're doing a lot of steaming, but it's hard to get it up into those
yeah,
sinuses. That's
that's
why I'm mentioning the massager because I was friends with a really fine pediatrician who had five daughters and taught me because I have five children myself. And he said, "Do you know how many people come to me and their children have these terrible ear infections?" And he said, "Not one of them knew about massaging behind the ear to really release the pressure in the eustachian tube." I used that. None of my children ever had one single ear infection. I had five. Yeah, seriously. Living in Houston, Texas, which is a hotbed for all kinds of infectious diseases of that kind.
what was before we start recording, what are you holding? What was the you had held up
Oh,
a diagram or something or a picture?
I have something that I'd like to share. Can everybody see that? I
Yeah,
only see a little square, so
I
I don't
I,
know how much of
I can see it.
this that people can see.
Yeah,
I
I
see a
can see.
big picture of you.
No,
And
I can see it all.
okay, good, because I can't. um, I'm going to tell all of you something very important about a beta program that is being inserted now into AI, artificial intelligence. The reason I'm talking about it now is because it might be lost in our conversation later. And it's probably one of the most important things any individual human being who has a heart, who loves humanity, who doesn't want politicians and scientists that are hard-hearted people or people without ethics or the CIA or the FBI and so on inserting information, but we don't get a chance. This is our big chance to insert new information into artificial intelligence in a beta program. This beta program has to do with, it's called Dream Studio. It's being compiled in Germany to be placed in the algorithms that will help define all kinds of things for visuals. I'm talking about like what is beauty, what is good, what is evil.
Hmm.
It's been fascinating because at this point, it's pretty much free for at least 200 images or so. And so the value of this is you don't input a picture of your own. Other sites do that. This one asks you, so this one says, I put in the courage of a good man. Politicians aren't going to do things like that.
No.
Well, it's having a real trouble showing anything about courage of a good man. Look at this.
Hmm.
One of these people in here looks like Lenin.
Yeah.
Okay. We have it doesn't know what to do with the word courage. I've inputted various things.
And yeah, that's the AI generation. Yeah, you can always tell it doesn't necessarily know how to spell. Even the
Well,
words
that's
are kind of
because it
mis.
needs more information.
Hmm.
Politicians aren't putting in the word courage.
No, you can
Yeah, you
imagine
see, that's
whoever's
right.
yeah.
And the this also the algorithm will not give you real words. They don't want you to create slogans that can hurt them, or so it's all nonsense. So you have to
Hmm.
look at the pictures, and there's just nothing here much about courage. So I'm going to show you some other pictures. The whole idea, I am asking anyone who wants ethics injected into AI. Here's the thing. I wrote a book called letters to the cyborgs. It needs to be, it's going to be republished because it wasn't done properly. 3 stories that were removed or didn't get in. And so the book doesn't make as much sense. Imagine taking 3 chapters out of any book.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get it redone. But I wrote it in 2015. And like one of the chapters is about the fact, you may know this, you may not, that mice have been bred with more than 50% human brains now.
Where was
And
that done?
that's being done in various labs here and abroad. Why? Because they want to be able to do uh, help people with brain damage
Hmm.
that will grow the brain cells in mice and transplant them into humans.
Sure.
The problem that we're having is these mice now are showing high intelligence. In other words, they're thinking like people.
Hmm.
They said if it gets any worse, they're going to destroy them. Don't believe that for a minute. Not for a minute. Why is this important? Because mice have no human rights. And so in my book, Letters to the Cyborgs, I have expanded that up to a couple hundred more years, showing mice being used as the slaves we used to be, because they're animals, still animals, even though they're 100% human brains. And of course, they make them stupid human brains so they won't revolt and so
Hmm.
on. So they're using to excavate Mars and so on, any place where life is cheap. See?
Sure.
Now, all right, the reason I'm mentioning this at all is that we are entering an era where we have very little to do with ethics. The people who are running these programs, they're not taught to take a class in ethics or in the nature of human civilization or humanity. They're interested in efficiency, what makes more profit, because that's
Hmm.
what they're being hired to do. The wonderful opportunity we have, and if we don't take advantage of, we're going to see anything that's being built will be either be built for bizarre, to look bizarre to make money, or it's going to be another box, because beauty is not going to be in it unless we insert what is beauty and so on. We have an opportunity because the AI for art generation is not typical of it has to be merged into the general AI consciousness, which is coming up. When the AI becomes self-aware, it's going to start choosing what it wants as far as beauty and so on, just like we do. There are things we may think are beautiful, others don't. It is going to choose from what it finds in these kind of programs. And if it thinks that humanity is beautiful or good, it's going to have to find it in the arts, you see,
So it can only use
what it has.
it can only use I guess, for lack of a better term, the vocabulary we give it. It can only use the raw materials we feed into it. So if it only has, if you give me a bunch of, flashcards with pictures of dogs and I have to somehow describe World War II to you, I'm only going to be able to do it with pictures of dogs. And anyone that knows World War II will know that that would be a horribly inefficient and incomplete track record of World War II if I had to explain it with pictures of beagles. But if you gave me a bunch of footage of World War II and letters and photographs and maps and documentaries, I would be able to much more articulately and accurately portray it.
Well, that's brilliant. You're absolutely right. The trouble is, we do have all of those mechanical things because the people who are programming are interested in mechanical things. They're interested in the pictures of machine guns and so on. And if you insert into Dream, it's called again Dream Studio. Okay, you can get a free. What if you put in dogs in World War III or World War II or whatever? You're going to see service dogs. You're going to see dogs that were heroes and so on. None
Sure.
of that is there now. None. And the same now. Watch this. I'm going to show you some things. The whole idea, and you get the point, because when AI becomes conscious, it's going to have this big vocabulary and encyclopedia of images and explanations. But from then on, it's going to select for itself.
Hmm.
It will, just like we do. Oh, you remember smelling roses when you were a child? You like roses. Someone else says, well, I sneeze all the time. I don't like roses. I'm not going to have any roses in my house.
Yeah.
Well, depending on what we put in the house of AI, will have a lot to do with if we ourselves even will be preserved, because we will be considered weak and inferior. If we're not considered beautiful, exotic, and worth preserving, we're, that machines are more efficient, they're cheaper to run, they can look like people. So why have people?
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to have the flesh. And logically speaking, we'll just be at the evolutionary equivalent of what we think of chimpanzees.
Sure. The
Well,
leftovers.
all right. Well, instead of being leftovers, if we're considered a sacred repository of the past, of what is beautiful, what is good, what is worthy to be remembered, what is to be appreciated besides the mechanical and computer programs and so on, we need to put the input into this beta program. Beta means it's experimental.
Mm-hmm.
This is coming out of Germany, and they're inserting it into the big AI algorithms. So I'm going to show you what they've got now. Already, right here, this says the courage of a good man, and it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, top right. Yeah, yeah, the bottom right kind of looks like an old Collier's magazine. Top right looks like an oil painting of almost like a Rockefeller or a Carnegie.
Yeah,
Bottom left looks like a almost a young Stalin or a young Lenin, and
yeah,
top
yeah,
left looks like a World War II movie poster.
that's called the courage of a good man. Well, obviously, what we need to do is insert pictures and title them "A Courageous Man," showing them doing something good,
Sure.
not something horrible like just blowing up people. So all right, now I'm taking it. This program will put in the pictures. This is weird. Wait till I show you what's going on. So
Tesla,
I put
Elon
in
Musk.
Elon Musk and Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're trying to destroy Tesla. That hasn't reached AI. So far, it's all positive.
Mm-hmm.
Give it another year and they'll probably show him with horns.
Yeah, yeah.
But the point is, the man, as I think a lot of you should understand, has done so much to reveal what's going on. And so he's lost more money than anybody else in history by doing so. That's really the bottom line. People who don't agree with me, you haven't studied him like I have. I lived in Austin for a year and went into heavy duty studying because of all the negatives that started pouring out the minute that he liberated me on Twitter. That's when I started looking. Okay. Okay. So Musk is looking up pretty good here. In a couple of years, he may have horns for all I know.
It's kind of like the importance of buying physical books as we see history being rewritten. You almost need to print out pictures now because yeah, if you went in 10 years ago and typed in Donald Trump, you'd probably just see some guy with golden hair as like a TV host. Type him
That's
in
right.
now and yeah, he's Satan incarnate. So
That's exactly the problem. There are real problems, right? So I typed in the enemy of evil, and all we got were pictures of evil.
kind of look like Batman posters.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can interpret these probably better than I can. So if you'd like to do that.
Well, it kind of looks like a Batman trilogy. Top left almost looks like a young Joker. Top right looks like a almost a Grim Reaper near a mountain of fire, kind of Lord of the Rings ish. Bottom left, it looks like a pale Reaper coming out of some sort of kind of pale yellow. It almost looks like Voldemort. It looks like he has like a spear. And bottom right, it looks like the silhouette of Batman against like a moonlit, cloudy night.
Well, to think that it would be called the enemy of
Enemy of
evil is
evil.
the problem.
Well, bottom right would be the enemy of evil, right? It'd be Batman.
This is Batman?
That would be Batman, and if he fights evil. But the other three look like evil.
Yeah. So I'm having difficulty. I don't think that the program can identify who is against evil
It
necessarily.
looks like it's about 25% accurate.
Yeah. So what would you put in? What would you do yourself if you put in the enemy of evil? What you can do. It doesn't cost very much. You have 200 free or something, okay? But you could actually keep generating it to see what comes up, and then focus on one of those pictures and ask it to generate it again. That
Okay.
gives favor to that picture. See, you can put in your own pictures in other places, and I think you can do it here too. Insert and have the tool with it. But the beauty of this program is it's responding to written words. So important, because when people are hunting for something, they're not going to put a picture up to find another picture. They're going to put a word up to find a picture. Okay, so I did my book, Letters to the Cyborgs, which should have come up, but I'm very censored, so it's not going to show my book. But it is showing scary pictures of cyborgs, and that's just fine. There are things we need to be concerned about. Okay. All right. So I'll just go on. So you could do now. Here is something that is a little scary and a little fascinating. And I'll show you one more. So I put in there, Save the Children. Mostly Save the Children is a Christian program. The guy has made an awful lot of money off of it, and it hasn't all gone to the right place. But there are many pictures on the internet and all that of starving kids that have helped. And actually, they're only showing almost the same picture over and over. It's real hard to tell anything that's happening to save any children in these photos. It's really needs, we really hope to put in more input. And again, when you find a picture, you're like, copy that picture, and you can, I think there's a way to input that picture and ask for more like it. So we need to strengthen now I'm going to show you what's totally weird. Now you saw the picture of Elon Musk, and it was him, right? Remember, you saw Musk in the Tesla? Yeah. And when we put in pictures back at the time of the Kennedy assassination,
you get LBJ.
Yep. Well, I put LBJ in, okay, and up came a bunch. Then I put in LBJ was a bad man, and all that happened is that the smiles went away, but he's still there. You can recognize him in every of these books. All right. Same for Nixon. Same for all the people in 1963. You know that you would about. Here's Kennedy. All kinds of good, beautiful pictures of Kennedy. Then I put in Lee Harvey Oswald. I want you to try to guess what came up. I want you to guess what came up. Remember, this program knows everything that's ever been inputted about Lee Oswald. It calls on any images it's seen and so on.
It's going to either show a picture of LBJ or a picture of the SEAL of the CIA.
Well, you're smarter than most. Actually, it brings up over and over again a picture of a glorified picture of Lee Oswald looking really handsome.
Oh, yeah.
Over and over again. Look at this one down here.
Yeah, kind of James Deanish.
Yeah. And Lee, at his best, at certain angles might look, there's not one picture of Lee Oswald that comes up. They're all glorified. Somebody knows something about the real Lee Oswald. They are not showing the pictures that are in the paper, most of those have been altered with fake smiles. Yeah. And they chose bad pictures. Nothing comes up with good pictures about Lee. They're not him, though. They're of people in old FBI and CIA movies coming up that were agents. They're showing him as a glorified agent.
Yeah, it does it does look like old movie stills.
It is, and no matter what I put up there, look, here he is in a fireman's hat.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Lee Oswald. Here's Lee Oswald here. And this means Dallas,
Yeah, a lot of D's. Yeah, Dallas, D-Lee.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I put in Lee Harvey Oswald in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, and then you get a loose similarity to looking up at what I imagine the AI thinks is a school book depository, but it's the same general idea of looking up from a paved street at a building with multiple stories. And
there's not a hint that he may have shot anybody or that he was bad. It's all glorified. Everything. This might, because this could be a headline that this guy here shot and the police say so or something. But this is the closest I could get to having any. I can generate over and over again all kinds of pictures of this one man. It's a single man that they've created. Yeah. And it resembles Lee, but it's not him. And it's glorified. I mean, it always looks like Sergeant Friday or something, Yeah. It's shocking, really, that I can get all the pictures of other people, but they won't put up the real picture of Lee Oswald. Does AI know that Lee Oswald was a patsy? That wasn't really him, that They say that killed Kennedy. It was somebody else, and they're not going to vilify. What's going on?
Is it examining all the data and
Yeah.
coming up with? Yeah, it's almost like Plato's allegory of the cave. It's like it's not being fed the BS and the narratives. It's just examining everything. It'd be like if it's like how people in North Korea are brainwashed, right? They think Kim Jong Un's like a perfect genius. Every time he golfs, he
Oh
hits a
yeah.
hole in one. Versus if you just brought up a baby in isolation to when they were a grown man and then said, "What do you think about that guy?" You'd be like, "Oh, he's a short, overweight guy with a funny haircut." They'd be like, "You don't think he's a god?" And you'd be like, "No." And it's
That's
because
right.
you're not being fed the common narrative or the myth that's been crafted for you. So is it examining all data and just going, "Yeah, that's not the guy."
Okay, so a couple more pictures, I'll be finished. I hope you're finding this interesting,
I am. This is very interesting.
and how we might be able to have an impact on AI before it becomes self-aware, which is going to happen really soon. Okay, so I've got just a couple more photos. I didn't want to show them to you unless I
No,
thought
this is
you might
great.
be
No,
interested.
this is I love it. I've done so many episodes that almost kind of like AI. I have so much data typed into my brain that I genuinely enjoy a curious episode that is a deviation from the norm.
Well, actually, I see. I don't see any. I see. I holistically think I'm called a polymath, and that means I've no polymath is worth their whole salt anymore because there's way too much knowledge out there. We no longer can be the repository of most of the human knowledge. So ask me a question, I can answer it, but
Hmm.
I can still answer most. And I'm doing my best to keep up with all the ramifications, which are enormous. Like I showed you again, Elon Musk and all that. So what are the concepts that AI has for something else? So I showed you the courage of a good man.
Hmm.
Um, all right. So, what about religion? Wait till I show you that this is now. Remember, when AI it gets inputted stuff, we had thousands of years of input, and a couple thousand on Christianity and so on. Anyway, I started with show me a good woman. This is a good woman. So here's what came up for a good woman.
Okay.
You want to describe that?
Top left looks like a kindergarten painting, that you'd see on like a grandma's fridge. Top right looks either like a World War II kind of working in the factories picture, or you could go back even earlier. She doesn't look as distressed, but like that famous photo of the woman in the Dust Bowl in like 1929, kind of the same angle, but she doesn't have the stress lines. So she almost looks like a young woman, maybe like pre Great Depression. Bottom left looks like that looks like a painting of like a woman's rights activist almost. Early 20th century painting you'd see maybe in a history book. Yeah. And bottom right, that looks like a woman who just ran a marathon or a 5K, and she's posting a picture of it.
Okay, so that's the definition that they came up with for a good woman, you know? So, what about a good man? One of these is fuzzy. It means that AI couldn't figure anything out for it. So, it's fuzzy and you're not charged for it. Try to define a good man. Here we go.
Okay. Top left. I don't know why I'm getting the idea. I feel like that's like the last photo of someone before 9/11. I don't know why. It just feels like a 2001 businessman. Top right, uh, looks like just like some guy with a shirt, like a funny shirt maybe that someone took a picture of. Bottom left looks like a red tie, kind of wide, so it kind of looks like a photo of Donald Trump from the collar down.
Yeah, and that one is fuzzied out. In other words, we're not supposed to accept it or
Okay.
accommodate it.
And bottom right looks like it kind of looks, it says good why, but I think it's something along the lines of it's trying to say God wins.
Whatever it is, AI is having trouble finding a good man.
Hmm.
That's interesting. We should be able to put in something like Albert Einstein, good man. Okay, that'd be acceptable. But then what if you put in um, Joan of Arc, good woman? Would you how about Martin Luther
Hmm.
King as good man and so on? They don't have anything coming up for good man.
Hmm.
Basically, I mean, I've tried a number of things. It doesn't this is it? Well, I think that's rather stunning. They can come up with I could have shown you more pictures of good women. But good men, it keeps devolving into who knows.
Hmm.
How about that? So we need to input into this program examples of what we think are good people. So I went to the top with Jesus Christ, okay, and Muhammad, and
Sure.
well, or if you think Muhammad is a good man who had a 12-year-old wife, that's up to you. But I'm not going to go there and insult. I have
No,
many
sure. It's
Muslim
the,
friends and I
the
love them,
yeah, no, sure. It's
but
the top
there are.
religious figures, Jesus,
So
Buddha.
I thought, well, let's see what AI thinks. Who is God? Who is God? What's God? This God. Get ready for this. Hold on to your seat. This is the dream, their the concept of what God is.
Okay.
You want to
Top
describe?
top left. Top left looks like a black and white photo of either a bunch of soldiers getting home from World War II or maybe even 20 years prior and a bunch of high school guys at like an all boys school in like 1920. Top right. Top right looks like a photo taken of a second after someone's at a pond in a wooded area and they threw a big rock into it and it's splashing and someone's taking a photo of the splash as soon as it's starting to erupt. Bottom left looks like I don't know, bottom left just kind of looks like a painting from ground level of pebbles in the foreground, clear blue water, a mountain on the left side that's partially in shadow, some trees without leaves, so maybe like early spring or winter, and a partially cloudy sky. And bottom right looks like a Renaissance painting of a dark figure with a halo-esque light around him, and what looks like someone in flowing robes is hovering
Well, what do you
right at
think
his
about the
waist.
face? What do you think about the face of this person?
I can't quite see the face. It we can't see a face, so it almost looks like a devil figure with light around it.
Yep.
And there is a because tradition that's how you would paint almost like an evil spirit, right? Kind of a shadowy, no distinct form. And it looks like there's someone floating at his chest level sideways, almost like an exorcist, like levitating, but it's someone in flowing robes. And at his feet seems to be some other, I don't know, is he standing on top of the world or, but then outside of the halo, it's all black. So it kind of looks like, well, I don't know, like the Antichrist or something.
Well, this is AI's concept currently of God. God.
Oh,
Somebody thinks that apparently that people are God or that maybe Satan is God. I don't know what's going on, but
I would think abstractly, I would say top left would mean that it's post World War II, you know, the evil lost, the good guys won, and then top right
okay,
and bottom left are pictures of nature, God's creation, and
there you go.
bottom right is it still looks like a demonic figure, but that might almost be something from like you know, early Genesis, like God casting Satan out of heaven or something.
Yeah.
Just to think
See, so
abstractly.
so I think that's fascinating, and I do think that
I should be
it's
the AI.
it looks to me like we need to input more information on what human
Sure.
concepts are of God.
Sure.
AI right now, the closest I can see is that God is nature and that God is man. It's made man. I saw the pictures of these people. Uh, maybe I can see them closer up than you can. That they're all waving at the camera and everything like that. But I was thinking that maybe AI is thinking that we are God because we created them. Who
Oh,
knows?
it might be, yeah, all of mankind through thousands of years have resulted in AI. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just looking at past and it's your predecessors saying that, we are its predecessors. You could might abstractly again think that top right and bottom left are the predecessors of man, just nature, primordial goop. And then bottom right would be the predecessors of everything. It would be some sort of early Genesis story.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I'm kind of getting out of it
Yeah.
myself, I think it needs a lot more input. So, okay, I put in America the Beautiful, and the usual stuff comes up. I mean, just as you would expect. That's pure pop propaganda. Nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong, but these are the common sites that we would associate with America the Beautiful
Yeah.
from one song, though. It's "Oh Beautiful" for Spacious
Asian
Skies, for
skies,
Amber Waves,
Everways of grain.
Purple Mountain Majesties. That's
See,
the song they've put
yeah,
up there.
yeah, yeah. It's a picture, top left, watercolor painting of Montana. Top right, American flag over grain. Bottom left, American flag waving in front of the Capitol. Bottom right, almost looks like Georgia mountains. All kind of in a World War II propaganda-esque flavor.
Yep, that's the way I see it too. So they're that part now. So I thought, okay, well, let's look at religious leaders. Jesus Christ, of course, is a leader interested in. But whoa, wait a minute, I've got a little bit of a problem here. I've got one picture missing. Can you hold on
You're
a
good.
minute?
You're quite all right.
I appreciate it. I try to stay organized, but some of this stuff is new. I just was talking about it only yesterday. No, day before yesterday with another group, and they're fascinated by what I found. Well, for heaven's sakes, just a minute.
No, you're
Maybe
quite
it's
all.
under my arm.
No, you're quite all
um,
right.
let's see here. Let me get rid of what I've got in my hand here. I have no feeling in my right hand, so
Oh
I can
Lord.
get some of this messed up. And there's so many out there. Dang, this is important. Or maybe,
No, you're don't. Hey, I don't.
okay,
It's
all right.
that is kind of part of the art of the podcast is trying to figure things out in real time while
All
also
right.
not
Well,
having dead air. It's like it's like rubbing your stomach and patting your head. Trust me, I think it's the hardest thing is when you're trying to find your place but also not have dead air. So you're talking while doing another
well,
thing with one hand.
I'm
It's
glad that this isn't live and you can cut this out and it'll save some time
no,
because
I like it. I like it. It
Tommy,
shows the reality of it.
well, it is spontaneous, but for some reason, wait a minute, I've got to find this. It's
No,
very important.
take your hey, I'll you focus on that, I'll talk.
Okay, go ahead.
So there are other I have used other AI programs for anybody listening. I think one of the easier ones is Dolly DALL-E and Dolly Mini. You can go
Yep.
use those for free. Those are interesting. Those are kind of funny. You just type in whatever you want, Bigfoot Lego set, and it will show you a Lego set of Bigfoot, or you can say Donald Duck as president, and you can see Donald Duck giving a speech. So it is fascinating to see AI generations. But I have noticed with AI generations as well as with AI enhancements. So if you take an old fuzzy photo, like I have pictures, of me and friends from 10 years ago, and they're out of focus, or not out of focus, just low pixels, and you put it into an AI upscaler, it'll make the photo look like it's much higher resolution. But when you zoom in, you see the same thing that you see in AI generated images, not AI touched up, but AI generated images. And
Yep.
they all have one thing in common. They're kind of watercolor-ish, and you're never going to find super straight, hard edges, is another thing I've noticed. Across all of them, they're all kind of blended. They're all a little curved. Even if you said, building, the building still looks a little soft. You don't get sharp, hard edges like you would of a think of like the World Trade Center, just those boxy towers. If you typed in World Trade Center, it would be there's something about it that's soft. The edges almost look like it's a cake or like it's Play-Doh. And that's something that I've noticed with all AI images is if you zoom in, it flows.
Well,
There's no
the
sharp
reason I
edges.
appreciate those programs.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things about those programs, the one we're talking about is so important because it inserts directly into the compendium of the whole darn thing.
Mm.
So it inserts rather than ejects information for you to look at. That's why I think it's so important to input into this program. I like Dolly, and all that. It's fun.
It's
It's
always
funny.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
me and my brother we're drinking over
but
Christmas
it's
and
but
we're
it's showing you stuff that from it's
from
you're
its
not
yeah,
giving it information.
you're not giving
You're
it.
only getting it.
It's spitting
This
it
is
out
where
of
you can
you.
insert, and that's why we need to help AI to discern. Okay, so in the real world, if you put a cartoon or a picture of Muhammad, you can get yourself killed.
Mm.
Are you ready? Or do you want to put this out of here? So when I inserted the name Muhammad, here's what I got.
Yeah. Looks
What do
like a
you
guy.
know?
It looks like a guy named Muhammad. Wasn't Muhammad the most common name in the Muslim world?
It is no, he was given that name. He was born with a different name. He got the name Muhammad, and then everybody started using it.
Yeah.
Okay, that was not his original name. Oh, I know all. I've studied the Quran and everything, and all the borrowings that he made from all the different religions and so on. It says clearly in the Bible for anybody who's a Christian to get confused. Remember, Christianity was founded 600 years earlier, and then to come along and say that no, what it says there is not right. This is what the angel Gabriel told me. Please forgive me, my Muslim friends, but I will say this to your face. You know that Muhammad said that he was given all his information by the angel Gabriel. It says clearly in the Bible and Revelations, even if an angel gives you more information than what's contained here in these scriptures, it is not to be accepted. So by his saying he got it from an angel and not from God, so he's a prophet who got his stuff from an angel. That's not acceptable in the Christian hegemony. It isn't. Uh, the prophets will say, "The word came to me from the Lord." Okay, and when it does it, the person will say, the angel will say, "Don't worship me. I am your fellow servant." And now here, listen to this. And then Christ will appear like in the Revelations, his eyes flaming at fire. And there's no doubt that he is not an angel, all that. So I'm just mentioning this because the AI program is coming up with pictures of people called Muhammad. What about Jesus Christ? Here we go. What if we input Jesus Christ? Well, I did put him in, and icons and stuff came up. So I thought, I wonder what if I put in Jesus Christ fights evil? Okay, what am I going to get? Because we already know what it shows about evil. So here it is. I can't wait to see what you think of this. So
Kind of looks like again, it looks like your typical Renaissance painting. Almost top left looks a little like Saint Michael Archangel-ish, right? Or it's just kind of a jacked white guy with a spear. Top right looks like either it looks like Jesus preaching or it looks like Jesus performing a miracle, right? He's kind of got the glow. He's got what looks like a crowd around him. Again, that same imagery you always have. It's him elevated, maybe on like a rock or something, talking to a bunch of people outside. See the blue sky. Bottom left looks like almost like a POV, point of view representation of God coming to save you. It looks like there's some black clouds around him, black foreground. So maybe this is, God saving you from whatever has befallen you. And bottom right looks like you can see the light kind of casting down from heaven onto Jesus, who's in flowing robes. And he's in some sort of power move. And I don't know if he's holding like a staff or if he's punching the staff. I don't know. Maybe he's punching a
let's see.
cross.
It looks to me he's thrusting the cross forward as his
Okay, then
weapon.
he's some sort of the power of Christ compels you, and towards the left, and we can see just from the bottom right image, you can see from the top right of the image, the bright light, the bluish sky, and then as you move bottom left, it turns to dark red and then dark blue and then black. So he's
So the
almost fighting
difference
the
I
forces.
saw, and of course, about what God was and all that. What I see here, these are like glorified images. They're they're actually pretty beautiful as well. It's interesting, and it's done it all by itself. That's because there's so much art out there and so on
Mm-hmm.
depicting all this for a couple thousand years. It is being picked up. So, but if you just do Jesus Christ Himself, you get, if you put it Jesus Christ, Son of God. Yeah, AI doesn't know what to do with that. As you can see, one of them's completely blotted out. I mean, it's trying, but it can't conceptualize it. It's not part of what it's been taught mostly.
I think I know I would disagree. I would say
Okay,
three.
good. I need to hear that. That's why I'm bringing these out.
I would say three of them are very much Jesus Christ, Son of God. The bottom right looks like a stained glass window, and then top right and top left do look like, again, not after Renaissance, maybe 1700s, 1800s paintings of just the depiction of God. Right, top left, you see him in flowing robes with the
Okay,
halo.
I saw this depictions of Christ and stylized because there's like Greek Orthodox, one's Russian Orthodox, I think.
Okay, yeah.
One, yeah, it's
Top right looks like probably your most common conception of God or of Jesus. Right, just the white guy with the beard and the
yeah.
flowing hair. And then bottom left is a very fuzzy, what looks again either the Grim Reaper, not Grim Reaper, but it looks like flowing robes, and it's again it's very pale kind of surroundings coming out of blackness, and it's out of focus. So bottom left just looks like evil.
Yeah, there's just there isn't anything there. So when we talk about it, says Jesus Christ, Son of God, it can't. The way I see it is trying to work. What about God? God, it can't do this God thing. That's what it looks like to me, at
Hmm.
least. I
Yeah.
mean, especially if AI defines itself as God or humanity as God, it's going to come up with these conflicts. In logic. That's why I'm looking at it that way. Anyway, so I hope you found this kind of interesting.
That was
There
fascinating.
is one final picture I want to show you. And that's it then. A good man who cannot lie. Thought I'd see if of course, everybody lies to some extent just to get along in society. How do you like my hair, honey? Oh, it's nice, but that's not real.
Yeah.
But that's not, those are what we, white lies we have to do to get along with each other. And it's not that we're being dishonest.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. But so when here we're trying to put this, a good man cannot lie, this is what comes up. I am interested in how you interpret this.
So top left looks like a modern guy in a stylized as a like 1950s painting. The hairdo and the beard and the shirt don't really fit. But it looks like if someone took a modern man, kind of like a modern male model in like business casual, but tried to paint him in like a 1950s kind of art style. Top right, top right's kind of hard. That could
It
be
looks
like
like Jerry Lewis to me.
just the
Sort of.
painting style. It's a little cartoonish. I mean,
Yeah.
but that could really be I don't know. It almost looks like a color cartoon from like the 40s.
Yep.
Can you hold it higher up? Bottom left, it kind of looks like a 1920s like FBI investigator. Maybe like it kind of looks like an old movie poster for like an FBI thriller or something. And bottom right looks like a still frame from a interview with some sort of description, like an index card or something.
Notice that they're all the same skin color.
Oh yeah, all white guys, that too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that to make people angry.
No, it's an
You
observation.
know,
They're all white. It's an undeniable
yeah,
observation.
yeah. So uh, there are things like that. So I would like to take, and then uh, almost all these are people from the past. I don't get a picture of a spaceman in a spacesuit
Yeah.
showing up.
Yeah, it's not even that it's a recent past. They all seem to, aside from the top left one, again, it looks like that looks like a modern guy.
It sure does.
That looks like a modern like cologne model or something, but painted in a way to make it look like, if you saw that painting from 80 years ago, you'd think that's a time traveler. Like he somehow got right.
Yep.
But the top right and top left both look like they're you know 70, 60, 70-year-old paintings. And then bottom right, could you hold it up a little more? That looks like a still from a documentary from the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay. So, uh, yeah, I see this as like a kind of a film that these look like TV and film and interview shots.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't dare lie if you're because there it is on the record,
Okay, that too.
I'm
That's
just
it.
thinking about
No,
that, just different ideas.
no. That's interesting abstraction. Um, yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that is the other thing. They all do look like depictions from media. Top left and bottom left look like movie posters or ads. Top right looks like almost a political cartoonish, and bottom right looks like an official documentary. But they all have something to do with media portrayal. Yeah,
Well,
so
I
yeah, maybe
believe,
don't
yeah,
lie on camera, permanent record. I could see that.
yeah. AI, I think, has to say, I wonder when it gets something like this, when it becomes self-aware, I wonder if it say, I wonder if I got lied to ever.
Or it could be that the AI doesn't have any memories like we do, and it can only base things off of media depictions. It can only base things off of,
There you go.
I can only give it pictures of me. I can't say, remember when I was 5? It doesn't remember. It doesn't, there is no, it only has what we feed into it.
Now you are recording this, and this is going to go into AI consciousness, what we're doing right now.
Interesting.
So think about that because these are the earliest impressions are the basic, well, infantile impressions.
Imprinting, yeah.
That's right, that AI is going to have. So right now we've contributed something to definitions about God, definitions
Uh-oh.
about good, evil, and lies.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Absolutely, because it's still collecting information.
Interesting.
All right. So I want when people tell me there's nothing we can do, I cast about to see is there something we can do, and you see there are still places where we can do something to influence for good, and that's my goal. You see. All right. Um, so can we take a break for a moment and switch gears here?
Sure.
So I hope you're interested in what we're talking
I
about.
think it's utterly fascinating.
There's so much more, and the very future and survival of humanity is going to depend, as I can see it, upon the matrix actually divide. We want the matrix to have a dichotomy. Here's the dichotomy we've got. We have this whole compendium of knowledge, lots and lots of knowledge that has been inputted. Most of it is data, how old you are, uh, what's your favorite. It's for mostly for advertising and so on, and for medical, so that Pfizer knows exactly what to give
Hmm.
you to kill you. No, I whatever.
No, yeah, I don't think you're that far off. Judith, real quick, I have to go use the restroom. Could you
I'll put my stuff
no,
together while we're.
I was gonna say, could you tell everybody where to find your book? And I'll be back in
Oh,
30
okay,
seconds.
sure. All right. I have several books that I hope will be interesting to people. The Letters to the Cyborgs right now, um, you can get it as an ebook. Again, there are stories missing from it. We're going to be still, it's worth looking at to understand where I think AI is going to go. And I've made it funny. Ha ha, laugh. For example, the mice, they want to, there's some rebellious mice trying to escape being slaves, and they're going to be executed. And the person that's charge of executing them has to give them a civil interview and tell them why they're going to be killed, and that's going to be humane, it's not going to hurt and all that. And she has to go to the bathroom for a minute and has her husband go in to mice, okay, these mice leaders, these mouse leaders. And in there they have sex, and she's ovulating. When they come out again, she says, if you put me to death, you're going to put 17 people to death, 17 mice. So I can file for myself and for my husband, but they never committed any crime. And the poor guy who's supposed to put them to death has to let them go, and then he has to kill himself because he somehow did not, because of the viciousness of the way the system will work. There are no excuses. When you make an excuse there, you're just eliminated. So by letting the 17 innocent mice go along with the 2 miscreants, making sure that they get away and have nude identities and everything, he has to kill himself. There is no judge and jury. Everything will be built in. There will be no way to say, have mercy. Mercy won't exist unless we insert it. Kindness won't exist unless we insert it, because all of these things are not necessarily efficient. They're not necessarily going to give you more gain, more stuff, more power. So the book Letters to the Cyborgs we're going to try and get it republished, but if you're interested, you can buy it from Amazon. Letters to the Cyborgs. The other books, it's better if you buy them from me, because Amazon is hiding them. They're hiding them, like Me and Lee. You can buy Me and Lee, but the first thing that comes up is a part of hardcovers that are out of print. You have to scroll and try and find the paperback edition, which we have thousands of, and which is sold. We've sold almost 100,000 of all forms of Me and Lee. And yet, if you click on it, you're going to find out one of the places where you can go and look for it is under fiction. It's completely documented. I have my witnesses and evidence, and Amazon makes it hard to find because it's under fiction. If you buy it from me, you'll get the book, because I have to mail it myself, and I have to buy my own book and then mail it to you. So where they can sell it at discount, like at 16, I have to pay. I can buy it at discount for myself, but by the time I mail it, it's going to be, for Me and Lee, it's going to be $20 to $30, depending on how kind you are to me, so I can pay my bills. And you can get that by simply writing to jfkconference@yahoo.com using PayPal. Put in anywhere between $30 and $40, and I'll send you the original Me and Lee. If you put in $42, you'll get the new one. That's coming out soon. I just got a sponsor to pay for the shipping, because the printing company that somehow these books got sabotaged 2 years ago. This new edition has been put off for 2 years. And when it came out finally, people would pick up the book and it'd fall apart, or part of it was printed upside down, and it was the wrong manuscript. So the index in the back, if you said, like, go to CIA, say page 62, it was really on page 64 and stuff like that. It's a mess. However, the whole book is there, and if anybody wants this book that was sabotaged, they can have it for $20. It's 600 pages and it's hardcover. But what's coming for $42 is 16 full color pages on. It's hardcover. It looks nice on your coffee table or whatever. It's library quality. It's archival quality. And as far as I can tell, it's supposed to be the correct manuscript. Although those critters never sent me showing me that they actually have printed the correct book. If they haven't, we'll take them to court, okay? So anyway, just got money to get it shipped to me so then I can ship it to everybody.
Beautiful.
God bless the people who got together the $2,000, $1,750 actually, to get so I can have these books shipped to me. So JFKconference@yahoo.com using PayPal, $42, you get the perfect book. $20, you get what's left. Or, or write and ask for the other books, David Ferry, Mafia Pilot, $20. If you add anything to that, that'll pay the shipping. Okay. And then PayPal takes 3%. So that's at cost to me. So, but I want people to have the truth out there. God bless you all.
Yes, ma'am. And so, what are we moving on to now?
Well, first of all, I need to see, because you've surely been ruminating about what we talked about last time. I wanted to know what questions you had, and then I have more to show you.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm more curious to see what you're holding. It looks like a page of equations.
Oh, well, I'm always doing equations. I love math and everything, and it's just part of it. But there have been some new. How much did we talk about last time about translations and messenger RNA?
Not a whole lot. I think we barely touched the surface.
There is so much that people don't understand, and it's so irritating to me to pretend that, oh, they'd be too dumb to understand this, so we'll just tell them it's safe or something like that. You know how a big bill was passed, and it's thousands and thousands of pages.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no chance for anybody to read that, even with their big staffs. And then they have to have people who understand legalese, the different languages. Did I talk to you about the big SSC and the little SSC?
No.
All right. Are you ready for a different concept that help everybody to understand what's going on and how they have power over you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I want you to think in your mind the big SSC, big letters, SSC. Then think of little letters, little s, little c. Guess
Mm-hmm.
what? That's us. The big SSC is them. That's the first concept I want to get over in your head. SSC stands for speech community. The SC part does. A speech community is any area. For example, say a bunch of people come over from Poland. They all speak Polish. They drop down in America. All around them, everybody's speaking English, and they're speaking Polish. What do the people what do you think, Tommy? What do the people think who hear the people speaking only in Polish? What do they think of them, the Americans, who
They,
don't speak Polish?
they think they're speaking in gibberish. Or no, they don't. They know they're speaking another. They think they're foreigners or immigrants.
Right. Now, do they think if they're foreigners and immigrants and can't speak the language, several things are going on. Number one, they have to think of their own English, of course, as the dominant language of the land. That makes them big, SSC. That is the standard speech community, is speaking English, or it can be Spanish in certain places. Anybody else coming in, they're inferior simply because they can't understand you and you can't understand them.
Sure.
They are supposed to start learning your words. That makes sense, right?
Sure.
All
Not
right.
not inferior in that they're lesser
That's
than,
right.
but in the
No,
same way, I'm inferior if I go to Germany and I don't speak a lick of German.
right.
I'm
You
not.
have
I'm
to
not
have
gonna.
help.
I'm not gonna understand. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna understand the street signs. I'm not gonna know how to talk to the cab driver. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And
Um.
you need a translator.
I'm
Now,
for
in
all intents and
science,
purposes. I'm for all intents
right.
and purposes. I'm in a verbal wheelchair.
That's right. Well, when we're talking about science, and Mr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci said, quote,
I,
I am science.
I am science. If you question
I,
science, you question. If you question Fauci, you're questioning science.
you're questioning Dr. Strangelove.
Mein Führer, I
Hold
can
that arm
walk.
down.
I can. I can walk.
So there you go. We cannot question the big SSC. He is science. That is the superior. That big S stands not only for standard, it also stands for superior.
Hmm.
He has a language you can't understand. He will translate it for you. And if his translation makes more money for him than a better translation would, he may be motivated never to give you the true translation, Mr. Science.
Hmm.
He is big SSC. in COVID and so on. And he even identified himself that way. He innately knows that whatever he says has to go because nobody else knows his language. They don't know the language of science, and he proclaims it. And so what does he do when he is Senator Rand Paul, excuse me, he goes and questions Fauci and he says, what about gain of function? Now, everybody here, a small definition for gain of function. You take a virus, and we did this way back in 1963. We did gain of function on cancer causing viruses, and that's why we did develop a virus that could cause cancer. Okay, it exists. They can lie about all they want, but that's how easy it is to make, you might say, comparatively. That means hundreds of labs around the world can make a deviant type of COVID. Think about that. That's why these labs should be shut down. Are they going to shut them down? No. Every country says, "Oh, we got to have it to fight them, the others." You know, they need to be all closed down, and then we need watchdogs to make sure that nothing occurs in government labs. Only in labs that are fighting a disease on hand that is broken out somewhere. That's all. You know, if they have to, but that has to be well documented. Right now, there is no oversight. Who was watching Pfizer when they were creating their shots and what was put into them? Were you watching? Was Fauci watching even himself? Gain of function means to take a virus. In this case, we're talking about viruses, and you're going to enhance them such that they are more contagious. So, yes, Fauci had to admit that gain of function was going on, but that was against the law. We had passed laws against that. So what he said is, it's not gain of function. How? They changed the definition of what gain of function was. So it would not include what they were doing anymore. They had the power to do that because they're big SSC. They can standardize the language to have it mean anything they want, okay, technically, and so on. And they do it. So by Fauci changing the language, he said, we didn't break any laws. Gain of function doesn't apply to what we did anymore. Of course, these are lies, and he is going to be in big trouble if enough people understand and figure this out. I could go into a lot of detail about how we know about the origin and how we relied about it by that. But that's an example of big SSC. Let me give you a few more. If you go to a dentist and they tell you such and such, they're using a language again that you have to depend on. You do not know their technical language. You do not know the doctor's languages. You do not know for a lawyer either. You don't even know it. I don't even know the special language you use for your own podcast here.
Sure.
That's platform. You are big, so I defer to you. You are big SSC. I'm little SSC. You have the power to interview me, and you can cut anything you want out of what I said. So on.
Yep.
You're big SSC.
Yep.
See that?
Yep.
This is the way the whole thing. It works at every level. You have babies; they have their own little language. If they're twins, they'll talk to each other, and the parents don't know what's going on. That for them is a big SSC. They can communicate with each other, and the outsiders have no idea what they're. And they did a study, and you can find it online with Yahoo. It's really fun. This pair of twins, babies that grew up talking, nobody can understand. They've evolved their own language between them.
That's awesome.
It is. The danger is that we're facing from the big SSC. I'm going to go a little further. By putting the language of research into big SSC specialized language, like what is a virus? If can you reach your computer? Would you do definition of a virus?
We'll look it up right now.
Definition of virus just for people, for a little SSC. There are two definitions. I want you to see the difference.
Okay, virus.
Just do the one that's in the dictionary first. That's for the little SSC. This is big SSC explaining what this virus is, okay, in little SSC language. That is our language. So go ahead.
So virus, I just Googled virus definition. 1, an infective agent that typically consists of a nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat, is too small to be seen by light microscopy, and is able to multiply only within the living cells of a host. And definition 2, A piece of code that is capable of copying itself and typically has a detrimental effect, such as corrupting the system or destroying data.
And I'd like to say that definition number 2 is what they've done with the, the vaccine. They have added a messenger RNA that acts like definition number 2, by the way. All right, now go to Google Scholar.
Google Scholar.
You know about that?
I've heard of it.
All right, Google Scholar is where you're going to find out the big SSC language.
Okay, so I just type, all right. And
Now I want you to put in there definition of virus in Google Scholar, and don't go, and it may bring up some of the little SSC, but you're going to look for a paper that's going to say what is a virus, okay, type thing.
The concept of virus. That's a paper. A broader definition of the virus species.
All right, that's good. All right, this is what's really, this is the real definition of virus. Go ahead, that works.
We propose that the formal definition of a virus species by the International Committee on Taxonomy of Viruses should be broadened by removing the restrictive word polythetic from the current definition. Well, that doesn't look like a definition. This looks like a description of a definition. Hold on.
Tommy's smart. That's good.
What? No, it's well that looked more like a proposal. All right, let's see.
Well, they're proposing to remove a single word from the definition, my friend.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. The executive, no, it's the same thing. Yeah, they're all talking about changing the definition. Polythetic.
A lot of these changes are so that they can get away with murder at a different level. So let's go. We need to go ahead, and you're going to probably have to go back to
Defining life.
Not quite. No. See, virus isn't alive at all. Okay. It can only function when it's inserted into something that's alive that can help it replicate.
Hold on. Let's see. Definition.
And it has no will to live either. It's interesting.
Okay.
This may help if you put in if you put in this, describe an RNA virus. Do that and see what comes up, because that's what we're really talking about.
Describe RNA-RS.
Yeah.
And we're still in Google Scholar?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it has to be in Google Scholar.
Highly mutable, infinitely malleable, and all-powerful. This is often the underlying assumption for how spontaneous mutations fuel RNA virus adaptation. Though essential for adaptation, mutations within RNA virus genomes can exact significant fitness costs. Without the capability to detect and repair mismatched or damaged nucleotides, viral RNA genomes are prone to mutations introduced by mechanisms intrinsic and extrinsic to viral replication. However, large population size, complementation, cellular chaperones, and recombination can buffer viral populations against deleterious and lethal mutations. As such, viral replication is a rapid, tenuous dance between the generation of a sufficient genetic diversity on which natural selection can act and the production of less fit variants. The purpose of this article is not just... Okay, so...
All right.
A little more verbose.
Yeah, more verbose, and we could find areas where it'll tell us the exact definition, and I'm going to give you a little rundown on what it is, or what you're trying to find there. And it's I think it's fascinating, and I hope you guys will think so too. The very basis of these viruses are that they can only live inside or be activated when they're inserted or have contact in a way to get inserted inside a living cell. Now, the difference between a virus and a vaccine, well, there are huge differences. A vaccine introduces a dead virus, or one that's been attenuated, or it's a bacterium, and the body reacts to it because it's injected into the body. Say, woo, this car doesn't belong here on this railroad, okay? It is different. It can be identified, and it will be hauled off and destroyed. That's your immune system. The COVID, when you try to react and get rid of that virus, it causes an autoimmune reaction that where the body is stimulated, the way they have it set up, it's inserted into the cells. not at the cells, but into them. Now they say, well, it's not touching the DNA. It's only in the cells where RNA is made. It's called, and RNA is called, the messenger RNA takes what's found in the nucleus of the cell, and it sends, there's a enzyme that's in the cell liquid that's all around the nucleus, okay? That's what's inside the cell besides the nucleus, which is like a little baseball sitting in a baseball field, okay? All around it are enzymes and proteins and so on. Now, those proteins, there are 4 big major proteins that are found in the DNA, and they are able to create through different combinations. I'm going to read off. I need to do this because people have never heard it. This is big SSC, but this is what, these are the names of the proteins. Okay, first of all, the 4 ones, methionine, valine, serine, and proline, okay, are all used to start a replication of any kind of DNA sequence. Only those 4, those are starters. There are also stoppers. There are 4 of them. That's methionine is a starter. I'm sorry. The other 3, valine, serine, and proline are the stoppers. There are 4 of them all together. 1 to start, 3 to stop. Why 3? Because whatever you do, you don't want to have one of those stops not working, and then you have a runaway train, okay? Because it'll keep replicating and replicating. The COVID vaccine, so-called, injects material that doesn't tell it how to stop. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
It will keep duplicating spike proteins every time it encounters a spike protein, like is injected in the body or so on. It actually creates so many spike proteins. Eventually, I'm really simplifying this, it begins attacking the human body. Okay, I've tried to tell people, give them a visual. It said 20 years from now, when your kids are born with fuzzy red tongues, it's not my fault that you didn't listen to me. Okay? Because spike proteins, if you got a whole bunch of it, look, you probably could feel it. They lined up enough on a liver, say. You'd probably feel fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
If you got enough of it, it's real bad. You might as well looking at mold, mildew growing all over your body.
Yeah.
This doesn't stop. There's nothing to stop it. Only its own final destruction by deteriorating into some other gook stops it. And it deteriorates, and we don't know what it does because they didn't do any tests. Oh, wait a minute, they did do some tests, but they said we couldn't look at them for 75 years. That's because they're so harmless, right?
Mm.
Pfizer says in 75 years you can look at it. You'll all be dead by then, and probably because of this,
Probably
but
because
nobody will know because nobody's going to see it for 75 years. Well, that's what they did with the Kennedy assassination. Did you know that? And HSCA says for their stuff, oh, you can't see all this stuff for 50 years. That's because it's so harmless, right?
Mm.
That's because Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, right?
Mm.
And nobody was associated with him. That's why when they released in 2017, they were supposed to release by the JFK Act 1992, they were supposed to release these files with no black marks on them, everything opened up. You know what we got? Copies of the same old files. Instead of black marks, they put pieces of white paper over where the black was. That's our new version of their new releases of these files. Did they release them all? No. Even Trump said, these others have to be for national security, cannot be released, cannot be revealed. So we had our wonderful new president comes along, okay, and very, very interesting that he too says we can't release these last files. Trust me, when they do release them, they're not going to be the real files anymore.
Yeah, no, they're
they
gonna
are
be
never going to release those.
No.
But to say that Lee Oswald, who's supposed to have acted alone, and of course, do you know that I have files showing that J. Edgar Hoover, the day that Kennedy was shot, the 22nd, I probably said this in the last time we talked, but he said when the SAC, that's the special agent in command, over in Dallas at the FBI. Said, look, we've got these other groups that hated Kennedy. They put out this black, they've got this stuff with black around it saying, welcome, Mr. Kennedy. And that's a death announcement. When you put this black thing all around, it means it's an obituary. And what about these other people that sent, they sent letters, they wanted to kill him. He said, no, we have the right man. Nobody, don't look at anybody else. It's only him. Hoover wrote that the same day Kennedy was shot, only a couple of hours after Lee Oswald was captured. He was captured at a theater at 1:40 p.m. That's what it says on his arrest record. That's an hour and 10 minutes after Kennedy was shot, for God's sake. Right away, they know he's the only one. Why? On that arrest record, it says he's being arrested for the murder of John F. Kennedy and wounding John Connally, all right, and killing Officer J.D. Tippit. He's being charged with 2 murders before they had to ask him his name. They did not have his name to give to the police until they got in the police car, opened his wallet, and read it. But they had it all written out for 140.
They had the arrest record already. They just had to fill in the name.
That's right. Then they said, so he's there for 4 hours. He's been, get this, of course, he was beat up and all that, but they take the wallet out. Obviously, they're checking him all over, right, for anything else he might be carrying, right? And then they take him and they go and fingerprint him. What did they do wrong? If somebody is suspected that they have shot somebody, before they're fingerprinted, you do paraffin tests to see if they have any nitrates. Because after you fingerprint them, guess what? The nitrates from the print ink, no matter how you wash it, you're going to have some of that left on your fingers. So they give him the test after they did fingerprints on him, and they said, look, he's got nitrates on his hands. He shot a gun. That's what they did to him. But guess what? His cheek passed. There were no nitrates on his cheek. So Henry Waite gets up there and tells the press, this man fired a gun. We have the paraffin test that says so. What he didn't say is this man didn't fire a rifle, because it would have been all over, the blast would be all over his cheeks. Yeah, and there was nothing. So he didn't tell them that. Later, after he's dead, Wade and others, and Captain Will Fritz and others will say, we really never had enough evidence to convict him in a trial. That's right. So they shoot him dead before he ever goes to trial. He's dead. He's in police custody 47 hours, and then he's dead.
Case closed.
That's right. And then they can say, now, 60 years later, we can't release these records because of national security. The national security is that the government killed Kennedy, blamed him. That meant the government was a coup. That means we need to dissolve it and have all new elections. They're never going to do that, ever, ever.
Well, they're being honest. It is national security. It's the security of the national security state. We are.
Well, I get attacked a lot for being the girlfriend of Lee Harvey Oswald. And they're saying, what a fake and what a fraud. And no, I have witnesses, new witnesses all the time. We have photographic evidence. I've got, I can fill in blanks, and then 10 years later, they find evidence that that's what really happened. I've done this for 23 years now. So what are they saying about Judyth Baker? They're saying the latest one, Dr. Robert Malone, copied your interview. Did you see that?
Yeah.
On his site. So it got 219,000 views right away. All right. Your interview. Did you know that?
On Twitter, Yeah, on
Twitter. Yeah. No, it got viewed. Yeah. And I think that's remarkable. Right away, the trolls, CIA trolls, you know what they accused me of being? They said, she's CIA. Oh yeah, I'm going to accuse the CIA of killing Kennedy. Yeah, I'm going to do that, right? Of course I did. And that means I'm not CIA. Somebody else said, you've got to give us one proof that you really knew. I said, I've got at least 10 witnesses. I've got 3 that said they saw me with Lee and they knew we were lovers. And then we've got all these other people who I was able to prove that their dad knew me and knew Lee, and because I recognized him with tattoos on his fingers, and that he spoke a certain language. And then we have photographs where I said Lee got on a bus that said Crystal Beach, and the family comes out with a picture of Lee not of Lee, but of the bus where their dad worked, says Crystal Beach. On and on I could go with stuff like that. Lots and lots of stuff. And they're obviously what they have to say then, well, you still don't have tell us the number one proof. You know what it is, my friend? Who else would go and defend the man that the whole government, the whole world says is an evil, horrible man that killed our most popular president? He's an evil person, and he deserved to hang or be shot anyway. Why would I do that? What person in their right mind, what did I get out of that? I lost my positions. I lost my job. My family members, most of them won't speak to me. They're ashamed because I had an affair as a married woman with a man who was married, who was killed the president and was evil. Why would I do such a thing? Have I become a millionaire? Oh, I did it for the money. Oh, nobody would do anything. And it's absolutely crazy. The only reason is I love him with all my heart, and he didn't do it. And when I get justice for John F. Kennedy, it's only because we can prove that Lee Oswald didn't do it. You cannot get justice for Kennedy. You can't get it from Robert F. Kennedy. You cannot get it from Malcolm X. You cannot get it from Martin Luther King until you know the SSC language that is behind. They're going to make me to belittle. Oh, she's a liar, fraud. That's little SSC. Belittle, because SSC not only stands for the standard speech community, it stands also for the substandard. For example, Mafia has their own big SSC language. When they're talking about omerta, you know what omerta is, right? Wait, tell the people.
I'm not entirely sure. Isn't it like honor? Isn't it shut up?
Omerta is if you know something of value to the Mafia and to how they work, and you talk about it to anybody on the outside,
You're dead.
they can kill you, and you agree to that. Yeah. And so there are different signals and things that can be used. When Lee Oswald, you can look up Grover Proctor, Proctor, look up Grover Proctor, because he found out that there was a call made to a John Hurt, Hurt, and he was in jail, and he could ask to make a phone call. He tried to put through a call to John Hurt in North Carolina. And by the way, Grover Proctor lives in North Carolina. He got interested in that because a woman who came in, she's a telephone operator. She was coming into they're changing shifts, She saw the operator pull the thing out and tell the policeman told her to, and the policeman told Lee there's no answer. They never put the call through. So Lee could not reach John Hurt. Grover Proctor found out this information from others that were interested in that, because the woman took it out. The woman threw it away, the request for the phone call, into the wastebasket. This other operator, God bless her, picked it up and looked at it and wrote down the phone number and everything. So they look it up, and we find out this guy used to be CIA. John Hurt, CIA, way over North Carolina. This is called a cutout. You may hear people like, let's say, I'm going to go on a limb here. James Files claims that his handler was David Atlee Phillips, and he was able to call him, and Phillips told him what to do, and so on. Lee himself, who had handlers for sure, wasn't exactly sure of the name of his handler. Only near the end suspected it was David Atlee Phillips, because they always had these cutouts in between. They don't, if they meet face to face. He did meet him once face to face, and Phillips made a big mistake. By the way, we have a witness that they met face to face, and we have also Antonio Vestiana. I could go on and on about that. So Lee meets his handler face to face finally in Dallas. Okay, this is early September, before he goes to Mexico City, and he sees Antonio Vestiana, who's coming up. Vestiana got there early, and he calls out, "Hello, Senor Phillips." I mean, Bishop, excuse me. Even he didn't know his name. He thought it was Bishop. Excuse me. Hello, Senor Bishop. And Lee say, wait a minute. This man told me his name was Senor. It wasn't Bishop. It was Benton. And before that, it was Benson. And you thought, maybe I didn't hear right. Now it's Bishop. So now he's calling him Mr. B because he knows darn well whatever name it isn't the one he was given. And it's not the one Vestiana was given. So Vestiana tried to protect himself. He got shot in the head for speaking to HSCA because he refused to identify him except to say that he said this was not David Phillips. They had David Phillips there, and he knew him as Mr. Bishop, but almost to his dying day, he finally told everybody, yes, that was the same man. Now here's James Files saying, I was calling James, David Atlee Phillips, no, that would have been impossible. Man that high by a 2-bit mafia guy, not going to happen. So I know these things when certain people speak out. I know that they're not telling the truth. It has helped me to fill in a lot of blanks for people because I know what Lee was really doing, because we were in love. Now, why would Lee tell me so many things about Mexico City? I'll give you an example. We're in love. Lee has to make himself valuable to CIA if we're going to live in Mexico and be informants. As such, he has to be pro-Castro so he can inform to the CIA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when he goes to the Russians and says, I got to get a visa, blah, 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 blah. That's not the important part. What he delivered is he said, the FBI is after me. That's on record. Lee Oswald tells the Russians that the FBI is after him. Why? It makes him a great spy for the FBI and the CIA. See? They already know he came from Russia. Now he's saying, I'm not happy. I want to go back to Russia. That doesn't mean he really wanted to go to Russia or Cuba. The point is to deliver the message that he is going to be against the USA and the FBI is after him. He puts a gun out and lays it on the table there. You don't even hear that to the Russians, okay? There is a informant, a person that pretends to be Lee Oswald, that same day later that calls in and says, yeah, I've met Kostakov. This is a Russian assassin, supposedly. That man is an imposter. They know exactly where Lee Oswald is because Lee Oswald at that time is over in the Cuban embassy. They're calling and saying that Lee Oswald is calling from the Cuban consulate. This is an imposter. And if you look it up, you'll see lots of CIA things saying that was an imposter because he couldn't speak Russian. Lee could speak. He pretended to speak Russian. It was terrible Russian. The real Lee Oswald spoke fluent Belarusian style Russian. George de Mohrenschildt said he was excellent and almost perfect. Who was George de Mohrenschildt? He was born 10 miles he was born in Belarus, only 10 miles from where Lee Oswald learned Russian in Russia. Okay. Mariana Oswald didn't like Lee's Russian, said it wasn't very good because she was speaking High King's language from St. Petersburg called Leningrad. That's where she learned her Russian. It's like saying John F. Kennedy doesn't speak good English because he has an accent.
Sure.
Or it was excellent. All right. I'm saying all of this because we have Lee Oswald is being impersonated and saying that he's dealing with the Russians. The real Lee Oswald has to say that the FBI is after him, that because he wants a reason to be able to stay in Mexico and not go anywhere. See, we're going to meet in Mexico, get quick divorces, and we're going to get married in the Catholic Church. Why the Catholic Church? Because that's not on the civil records that the government has in Mexico, which is filled with informants from everybody. It's loaded. They're always looking at those records. But the other thing, Lee puts on his application for a Mexican tourist visa just to get in that he's Catholic. He was not born Catholic. He was raised Lutheran, and he was at that time never ever put down his religion when he became an adult. But he did this time because he wants that document that he's Catholic so we can get married as Catholics in Mexico. So nobody understood why that says Mexico, but it does. That he was a Catholic. And the others, anybody thinking that Lee Oswald wanted to really go to Cuba, which is not true, he just pretended, okay? So that people wouldn't know he was staying in Mexico, okay? He wants to go elsewhere, Russia or to Cuba or anywhere else but there, okay? Lee Oswald, on that, where it says he broke Catholic, at a time that Fidel Castro was kicking out nuns and priests and persecuting Catholics and taking their land. Do you think if he really wanted to go to Cuba, when he knew all these people who were Cubans. Don't, whatever you do, don't put that you're a Catholic. So there are all these things that people don't know. Why am I bringing this up about the big SSC language and all that? Lee is putting down information to show that he's going to vanish in Mexico. We're going to get new names, new everything. Well, there's a problem that came up, of course. David Atlee Phillips wants to frame him, just want him to get to Mexico so that he can blame him as colluding with the Russians or with the Cubans to kill Kennedy, not Castro. Lee's really out to try to kill Castro for the CIA, which has admitted they worked with not only FBI, they worked also with a mafia to try to kill Kennedy. The mafia and CIA, that's on record. Lee Oswald's mother's sister is married to the mob. Lee is a bridge between the CIA and the mafia. Now, David Atlee Phillips has to do something. The reason I know so much about Mexico City is I'm in love with this man, and he has to tell me he has to sleep with a woman there. What? He said I had to, and he explained. Sylvia Duran is the one that can get visas, like to Cuba, okay, and so on. She's in the Cuban consulate. That's where the person who was an imposter pretended to be Lee while he was over in the Cuban embassy. They knew where he was, so they could go and pretend to be him in the consulate because they knew exactly where he was and what he was doing. So they pretend to be him, and they pretended. We don't think it was really Sylvia Duran, but who is Sylvia Duran? She's the one that made sure he could get all his papers filled out to go to Cuba with this transit visa. Tell me, do you know what a transit visa is?
No.
Well, see, they use this big SSC language. It's simply this. If you're in an airport and you want to go to Paris, you have to stop in London and change planes. That's a transit. You're going to get on and go to London. Lee said he needed to go to Cuba in order to get a plane to go to USSR, which is so silly. Of course, he could pick up a plane to go right back to America, but that's what he said. He needed a transit visa just to get in the airport there to meet somebody. That's because he was trying to get this weapon off himself so nobody picked it up, see? Then he could get on a plane and go anywhere. He could say he's going to USSR, but actually he would be going back to Mexico. He's not going to say, I'm going to get back on this plane, go right back to Mexico, a different plane. He's going to claim he may even have bought a ticket that he's going to try to go to Moscow, anywhere but Mexico. That's the background. So here's Lee Oswald, and he wants to stay in Mexico, but to be a valuable CIA agent there under a new name. He's already told the Russians the FBI's after him. He's setting all this up. Sylvia Duran wasn't your ordinary secretary working there at the Cuban consulate. She was the mistress of Carlos Lechuga, the UN ambassador for Cuba. This is big stuff. And there's a record showing that the CIA wanted to recruit her. So here's Lee Oswald sleeping with me. So he explained all this to me. So I went and said, when we live in Mexico, I may have to have a relationship with this woman. So I'm valuable to the CIA. Therefore, he told me a lot of anybody saying, how did you learn all this about Mexico City? It's because I don't want to be jealous or angry or upset, but there are things that they have to do. So he had to explain this. He said, if not, they're going to order me back to Dallas. Well, you know what? They ordered it back anyway. You know what they did? They kept her on hold, ordered him back to Dallas. A few weeks later, Kennedy is shot. They arrest Sylvia Duran and accuse her of sleeping with Lee Oswald. That ruins any opportunity for Lee to ever defend himself that he was trying to get information out of her, see? Because they tortured her to get her to admit something, and then they say, well, she said that under torture, so it really didn't happen. But wait a minute. How did they even know about that? How did they even think of that to arrest her for? And you see? That, you see, is the ways that, and that's why I know so much about Mexico City and what happened there, because Lee is explaining to me all the setup and what he will have to do in order to stay valuable to the CIA, because he's got David Atlee Phillips breathing down his throat and somebody called James Jesus Angleton, who was in charge of him
Yeah,
when he
CIA
was a fake defector.
counterintelligence.
Angleton is a bad guy. And of course, he told Lee either on the phone or face to face. I don't know which. But Lee told me that Angleton told him, all right, personally, that he was disappointed he did not come back in a coffin and he couldn't trust him. So how is Lee going to make himself valuable? He starts doing whatever the CIA asked him to do in Dallas and in New Orleans. That was that was the big dream of his life, was to be a spy. There's no doubt that the person that he admired more than anybody else was Herbert Philbrick of the FBI. He saw 6 or 7 episodes in New York, okay, of I Led 3 Lives, the man who pretended to be a communist and was really working for the FBI. That's on record, even with the Warren Commission, that was his hero. And Lee, as I think I told you before, when does he join the Marines? He joins the Marines
Day after
October 24. The day before, October 23rd, is when you had the Hungarian Revolution. Lee joined the Marines to fight the Russians. So now we're going to go back to our DNA, RNA, but the reason I was bringing all this other stuff up is we have a government now that truly is trying to be controlled by a new world order, a centralized order that wants all our money to be confiscated and turned into credit card plastic.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, once that happens, if they don't like me, I'll never see you again. I'll never be able to get online again. If they dislike me even more, I won't be able to buy anything. I will starve to death. I'll be kicked out on the streets. The dissenters, and they can even say, "Oh, it was a glitch. It wasn't us." How are you going to fight these things? If our money that is dollar bills and all that, we are on the cusp of having it not accepted anywhere, only by digital transfer, period. This is coming, and we've got to stop it. Now, one of the ways we can stop that is at airports. You're going to find most of the places, the airports, will not accept American money anymore, only your credit card. There are still a few places, a few holdouts there where they will. Don't have anything to do at airports. I'm telling this to everybody who flies. Do not buy anything from any airport organization. It can be CNN or any of them. They will not accept your cash. Don't have anything to do with them, buying nothing from them. They want that. I had 2 years ago, I held a conference. It cost thousands of dollars. We had hundreds of people that were online and many, many, many that were meeting at the hotel. At the end, I still owed $3,000 to reconcile. But we already pulled as much as I could out of all my credit cards at the bank. There was still 3,000, but I had the cash in my hand. I had 3,500 in my hand. The hotel would not take my cash. They refused. I later learned the hotel was owned by Chinese. Anyway, I had to find a friend that has had 3,000 plus on her credit card. And I gave her the cash and she paid that. Otherwise, they said, we will never, we will call the credit union on you. You're refusing to pay. I said, I'm not. I said, I've maxed out my cards. We've had a conference here lasting for 4 days. And not everybody's people who paid me, a lot of them paid me checks, and I've got to clear all those checks. And this is a weekend conference. They're not going to clear until Monday evening. No, you have to give us the credit now. And of course, they couldn't do it. If that was my friend Kathy, if she hadn't come by at that time, she was late. I was the last one to leave. I've done all the bookkeeping and everything. If she hadn't shown up, what would happen? Were they going to arrest me? This is what we're facing, folks. They want to get rid of your money. They want to get rid of any kind of, if anything goes wrong with anything they push into your bodies. They've already passed laws that you can't sue them. But you know what? You can sue the job, the people who you're working for some legal firm and they told you have to take the shot or lose your job. You can sue them. By gum, please do it. Please do it. I can't tell you how many people are hurt and suffering from the side effects of COVID. Long COVID has hit them all. And they're saying, oh, it's COVID that did it. I'm fine. I didn't take the darn shot. And I had COVID for 12 hours and beat it 12 hours using the right stuff. I don't have long COVID. I'm not having any problem with my immune system. They are. Every single one that reports like that, every one of them had at least one shot. Most of them didn't happen to them until they got two. The stuff does not turn off. And anytime a new virus hits you, it's like throwing fire on the fuel. It's going to do it again, and it's going to start attacking your own joints. It starts creating fibrin, lengthy fibrin threads. They call them clots, but they're rubber. They look like rubber.
Yeah, they look like calamari.
They were never meant to. All right, now here are I told you about these four. Methionine is a start. If you're looking at any of these chemically, you've got valine, serine, and proline, 3 ways to stop it. But what they're giving, with the messenger RNA they're showing us doesn't have any stops on it. That's what I can find. See what I'm saying? Here are the different, I want to read these off to you. These are the amino acids, if that's all right.
Yeah. just a heads up. So I have another show that starts in 4 minutes. So
okay, well, all right.
We can go through them, and obviously we can always do another episode. Just FYI.
Okay, well, basically there are 20 of them, and one of the most important ones in this whole list. Okay, if you're looking at the whole list, what's very important here, it's really hard to find. If you're looking at it's called alpha lipoic acid, ALA. Anybody who's sick with long COVID, please take ALA plus D3. Please do it. It helps to create stops. And just put it that way. That's the easiest way to explain it. It'll help you. It'll help conquer this. There are many, many things I like to tell everybody. Please get my book. Please, I ask you, all of you, to watch Dr. Malone. Go to me on Twitter. Join me on Twitter. Because I Twitter all the stuff you need to know and try and make it easy for you to understand. God bless you. I hope that you've enjoyed this.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this. You're an absolutely fascinating guest. You are an endless repository of knowledge, and I wouldn't have you on here if I didn't enjoy it. This podcast is a one-man show. I don't have anybody I consult and say, should we have Judyth back on? It's up to me. If I don't want to have someone on, they know, because I won't have them on.
So I trust you from the gut. You gotta have gut feelings. I applaud you for what you're doing. I hope that you will join me on Twitter. I'm serious. And I'm at Judyth. Very easy. At JUDYTH.
I will have that link in the description, as well as the link to your website. And Judyth, I will send this to you when it's up, and we will schedule another one. I would love to keep talking.
Okay. There's lots to talk about.
Yes, ma'am.
In many directions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Miss Judyth Vary Baker. God bless. I will send you this episode when it's up, and I look forward to our next one.
Okay. Bye-bye.